Okay, so maybe we'll do Philip's interaction thing. So please sit down if you consider that running is more like fast walking. Okay, so maybe a third of you, everyone else thinks it's more like cycling. Well, Roadrunner was right. So it is more like cycling, or actually think of it, so you can sit down now, everybody. But or think of a child on a scooter when they're sort of scooting around like this and pushing the, look, I've got to balance now, getting the momentum going with their scooter. You're cycling your legs behind you. You're moving forward, but actually the action is taking place behind you. So the idea is that you cycle your legs underneath you, like the kid on the skateboard or the child on the scooter. This is roughly what you should be aiming to do. Part of the problem is that we tend to think it is instinctively like fast walking. So we often stretch out in front of ourselves. I'm exaggerating clearly, but we'll land in front of our center of mass on our heels. You know, that is not a good thing for your knees and your joints. I would estimate a lot of people who have problems running, either plantar fasciitis or problems with the knees, it's because they're heel striking, landing in front of themselves, rather than cycling their legs behind them like that. So the second question, stand up if you think when you touch the ground, you drive up from the floor. A driver, yeah. So it's interesting, I mean, thank you. So probably maybe a quarter. Well, those sitting down are correct. You don't want to drive from the floor. You want to not use that lovely elasticity and push up off the floor. Now, you probably never had these questions asked before, but you thought about it, and the majority of you probably got the right answer. So one of the reasons why actually we tend to land in front of our center of mass on our heels is because we don't get any air time. Now, if you've seen these amazing Olympic walkers, you've probably seen that race. I mean, they do like 50 kilometers. Occasionally you'll see this poor woman or this poor man who's walked themselves to the ground, and then some official comes in and gives them a red card, and they're disqualified. I mean, sometimes it can be, a mile from Olympic gold and they're disqualified. Because, of course, with walking, if you leave the ground, that's not walking, you're disqualified. But with running, you get air. Now, when Usain Bolt ran 100 meters, he was essentially flying. I mean, the amount of time his feet were on the ground, I mean, his foot contact would be 0.15 seconds. I mean, something ridiculous. He's essentially flying the 100 meters. And even though we are not Usain Bolt and we're not sprinting, when you're running, you will be getting air. You will be leaving the ground, I promise you, because otherwise you're not running. And so by pushing off the ground, think of Andy Murray receiving his tennis stick. He's doing this. This is the movement you want. You will get some air, and that will allow your foot to cycle through behind you. And what that means is that you're pushing off the ground. You're using your glute muscles, which is the strongest muscles. I mean, you use all your muscles, I've realized this, but this is what you want to be using. If you're on your toes, you're very, very overusing your calves. If you're heel striking, it's really hard on your hamstrings. But this flat-footed response, cycling your legs behind you, is what you're looking for. And if you come to our little group running sessions, which Philip will talk about, we'll do some of these drills alongside a gentle jog together. Second thing to think about is your head is a dead weight. Unfortunately, this is a very, very heavy navigation device for running. I mean, you tend to need it, sadly. It doesn't detach. But it is very, very heavy. And one of the things I'm keen to get across, I think of all when we run, if you haven't run before, you'll probably be quite self-conscious. We've probably all been there where you get, a few sort of odd looks. I mean, sadly, some people get, things called out of them when they're running. So we do tend to feel quite self-conscious. So inevitably, we'll sort of do this, and the head will go down. Or actually, you think, I don't want to fall over, so you tend to look at the floor. But your head is really a heavy weight, and it will slow you down. So you really want to sort of stack your head over your body with your eyes on the horizon. Of course, your eyes will rotate. You can look down at the floor. And I appreciate, if you're doing trail running or in the dark, you would be looking more at the floor to avoid tripping over. But on the nice, flat streets of Bristol, having your head up will really make a huge difference. What that then leads to is a nice, relaxed torso. If you could perhaps just tense your shoulders for me. Now hold that position for an hour. But actually, if you take an hour to run a 10K, which would be a very good time, by the way, if you're tense like this, it will have a huge energy cost. And the thing is, if you're relaxed about running, you're not breaking your stride. You've got this lovely momentum, nice little bit of air. You're relaxed, your head's up, a nice torso. The energy cost will be so much less, and you will move faster. It's about running economy. The next thing to think about is that's Eddie the Eagle Edwards, and that's Kate Winslet from the film Titanic. Gravity is your friend. Now, actually, Philip's found some amazing pictures. Thank you, Philip. But if you can imagine Eddie or any other, probably a better ski jumper, bless him. Obviously, the angle of the ground is quite extreme going downwards. So probably he's almost parallel to the ground. But if you think of a ski jumper, they bend from their ankles like that. And then you've got some momentum going forward. So if you're going to bend from the ankles, and then it's almost like a controlled run. Or think of Kate Winslet, bow of the Titanic, not the arms, but imagine you're leading from the chest. I mean, obviously your nose and your chin, particularly mine, will stick out further. But imagine you're leading from your chest, or even there's like a thread which is pulling you along. So that bend from the ankles, leading from the chest, gets that lovely forward movement. And then there's the arms. It's strange. You think, well, these are a bit useless. But you kind of instinctively know if you tied your arms behind your back, you would struggle to run. So the arms are incredibly important. And actually, what we're trying to do with the arms is really mirror what we're doing with the legs. So again, you don't drive your arms forward, which is the equivalent of fast walking and landing in front of your center of mass. You just drive them backwards, and then they recoil back into position. Nice rhythm. Think of a snooker player when they're lining up their shot. They're doing this. That's actually what you're doing. Or think of your fingers from your hip to your lip. Hip, lip, hip, lip, hip, lip, hip, lip. They're going back like this. Don't drive them forward. Just backwards and recoil, backwards and recoil. And that sets that lovely rhythm up. Can I ask you to stand up again? Because one of the things, just to prove that point, I know we haven't got a huge amount of space, but just get into a very, very gentle jogging on the spot. And get your arms going. Now, keep that rhythm going. Now, can I ask you, please, to get your feet going twice as fast as your arms? I mean, it's literally impossible. But now, get back to that rhythm again. And now get the arms going faster than the legs. It's easy. It's easy. Because your arms drive your legs. If If a tiger came from behind this curtain and the last person to the back wall was eaten, your arms would be what kick-started that motion. You would drive with the arms. So your arms are really, really important. Sit down again, thank you. If you think that running is more like cycling than fast walking, this is almost like your gear stick. So you're jogging along, you get to a nice little downhill bit, you can stride out, you get to a hill. What would you do in a car or on a bike? You go down a gear, just up the gear, up the cadence, go up the hill, really nice and easy. Your arms will increase your stride rate, your cadence, if you like. And a really, really important thing is when you're tired, and you will be tired in the Bristol 10K or the half marathon, a cue would be arms. Keep that arm drive going. We're not doing our sprinter thing. It's just a nice, relaxed hip to lip, arm going backwards. Think of your snooker player just lining up his or her shot. And so you're not going out in front of yourself because you're going forward, but all the action is behind you. Next slide, please. So that hopefully, those first three are some form cues, because running is a skill. And if you get better at the skill of running, you will run more efficiently and you will run significantly quicker. But now, how actually to train? I mentioned before that we get self-conscious when we run, this idea that the head goes down and it's not very efficient. Equally, if you're feeling self-conscious, the chances are when you go out for a run, you will run too fast. Because you think, I'm slow, I'm not very good, it will look a bit silly, I will feel self-conscious if I'm running slowly. But the way to run quicker in a race is to start off by running slowly. And if I could give you one thing to take away from this session, is I would like you to aim for every run that you do to finish feeling pleasantly tired. Pleasantly tired, because that is a wonderful state to be in. It will mean you will want to run again, but also there's all sorts of physiological reasons why that's a good thing to be. If I asked you all to go for an hour's ramble in the woods, you would come back feeling pleasantly tired. And now, because you now know how to run in the 5 minutes I've given to you, you will get to the point where running will become maybe not as easy as walking, but it starts to become that way. So you can go for an hour's run and you will feel pleasantly tired at the end of it, similar to a really nice brisk walk in the woods for an hour. If you find your heart rate goes up, you've gone too quickly, then please run, then walk, then run again. The best way to build up to continuously running for a 10K is to run, to walk, to run, to walk. The obvious places to walk will be a hill. Don't go into the red and be hot and sweaty or everything. Walk up the hill, because then you will make further progress on the flat. If you feel that heart rate getting up, stop and walk. And gradually over time, the walking gaps will decrease and the running amounts will do. And so if we do a session on the downs, you want to come along, those of you that are maybe experienced runners, you can go off and do a few little things and we'll regroup. But we'll probably start off by, run for a minute, walk for a minute, then we'll get to, run for 3 minutes, run for 1 minute, etc., etc., etc. So that is really, really important. Because physiologically, I'm not going to go to the science, and I can talk about ATP production in muscle mitochondria. I do know all this stuff in a lot of detail. But so, clearly I'm oversimplifying, but to run a half marathon or a 10K is 98% aerobic. And what I mean by that is you want to use oxygen, which is essentially unlimited. And please don't get me wrong, this is not any kind of comments on bodies, but every single person, including whippet-thin primary school kids, have more than enough body fat to power them for a 10K or a half marathon run. So the point is, this is how God made us. I mean, God's an amazing designer, as we know. He made us to use oxygen and our stored reserves, muscle glycogen, body fat. And what happens is when you run too quickly, it becomes anaerobic. And then, again, a technical term, but the body goes, that's a science term, anaerobic respiration means that it takes place without oxygen. All sorts of things tend to happen. Your heart rate goes up, you get hot. It's not very pleasant. And so I personally have a problem. I'm suggesting to Philip that Love Running becomes a HIIT-free zone. High-intensity interval training, lots of good reasons to do that, but not to train for a 10K or a half marathon. I guarantee that you will run significantly quicker if you do the run, walk, run, steady, feeling pleasantly tired, build up gradually. This high-intensity stuff is, this is what elites do to get that extra 1-2%. If you haven't built your pyramid, you haven't built your 99% of it, don't worry about the pinnacle of your pyramid. Build the base, and that is the way forward. Because I think the next thing, I think this is dear old Mo Farah. So this is about the things you do. Be a butter burner, not a bagel burner. So think about the heart rate level, the level of intensity where you're preferentially utilizing body fat and training aerobically rather than the bagel burning where you have to sort of quickly burn things. It's the equivalent of a roaring coal fire. That's what you want, where there's this steady release of heat rather than throwing sticks or paper on the fire. And so aerobic-based training is your coal fire, that sort of deep burning energy system which can go on and on and on. Anaerobic stuff is the sticks on the fire, the paper on the fire, which you'll want for your sprint finish, but it's not the way to train. So Mo Farah, who of course is Britain's greatest ever male distance runner from Great Britain. He's a bit. I love Mo, but his autobiography is a con because, of course, it's entitled Mo Farah, No Easy Mile, and the reality is it should be Mo Farah, 96% easy miles, because every single elite athlete, Kipchoge, Mo Farah, Liz McColgan, if you're old enough to remember her, because she was amazing, or indeed Alicia McColgan, her daughter. Most of their training is just steady, easy miles. Now, for Mo Farah, that will be 5-minute 30 pace, which is quicker than most of us could run a single mile. But the point is, for him, that is aerobic. So they just do lots and lots of steady, easy miles, working and refining their technique. And it's only the intense stuff that comes at the very, very end. And yet, the perception is that they're doing this really, really intensive, high-interval training stuff. And that's just their last little bit. Most of what they do is base training. So actually train as the elites do, which is go for steady jogs 95% of the time. I promise you that is how they train. And finally, on my 7 rules, rest is your secret weapon. Because the way the body works is you need to absorb your training. So go for a run and then rest. Because what happens is you will then go on the what I call the anabolic super adaptation escalator. You get into an anabolic state. You absorb the training and you move to the next step of the escalator. And then you gradually go up that way. If you overtrain, you get into a catabolic state. And then you get run down, you get colds, and you feel a bit lethargic and you're tired and everything aches. Absorb your training. There's plenty of time between now and May to run and train properly, but rest is really, really key. If you may put in a few, maybe you might go for a really hard block of training in May time, but that final week should be tapering and rest, because the best way to run your very best race is to be well rested in that final week, having done the training. So a very, very brief recap before I finish. So running is more like cycling than it is fast walking. You need to get some air, you need to get up in the air, and that allows you to cycle your legs under your center of mass. Less likely to get injured, less likely to heel strike, and you've got that lovely, relaxed motion. So think of Roadrunner cycling his or her or its legs behind it. Head up, eyes on the horizon. Don't feel self-conscious and copy. Don't sit in your bucket. Head up, nice, relaxed torso. Hip to lip, arm drive. Your arms drive your legs. You want to get your legs moving faster, start with the arms. Your arms are not a passenger. They actually are really, really important. And all the action goes on behind you. Bend from the ankles. Think about it. Think of the ski jumper. Think of Kate Winslet, chest out. Imagine you're being pulled from this golden thread that way. And then this way you'll be utilizing your glute muscles, which are the strongest muscles in your legs. And that really is what you want to be using as your driving thing. So it's all about that base, no treble. And then fourthly, run slow to run fast. You will feel self-conscious. You'll think, I'm very, very slow. But I promise you, starting off slowly is the way to get quicker. If you go too quickly, you go into anaerobic respiration, you'll get hot, you'll get sweaty, you won't do it. Love running is a hit-free zone. Please if you aim to finish every run feeling pleasantly tired, I mean, that is almost the whole ball game. Fifthly, train your body to use fat as fuel. So again, this is about that. If you've got smartwatches, that level 2, that level 3 thing, get in that zone, and you know how it feels basically. And if you go into that metaphorical red, stop and walk till the heart rate's got back down again. Sixthly, dear old Mo, we love him, but you raise the ceiling from below. No easy mile is a lie. It's 95% easy miles. That is how you will get to do this race really, really well. And seventhly, you need the time to absorb your training. This should be fun. Running is a skill. Once you get that feeling, that kind of pleasantly tired feeling, that rush of endorphin, it's God's legal high. He gave us endorphins because that's actually how we experience, the freedom to exercise that he gave us. And it is a joyful thing. You might get it from cycling or swimming or whatever else, but I really do believe people who say, oh, I don't like running, they're just doing it wrong. And if you hopefully follow these little rules, then you too will love running. Thank you, Philip.